When an elderly black woman is mistreated at a luxurious hotel, little does the staff know that her son is the owner of the entire chain. This incident sparks a series of events that leads to significant changes not only within the Diamond Suites but across the entire hospitality industry. Martha Johnson stood at the entrance of the Diamond Suites, her weathered hands clutching a small worn suitcase. The gleaming glass doors of the hotel towered before her, reflecting the bright afternoon sun. At 75 years old, Martha's dark skin was etched with the lines of a life well lived, her silver hair neatly tucked beneath a simple floral scarf. She took a deep breath, straightened her modest dress, and pushed through the revolving door. The lobby was a sight to behold. Marble floors stretched out like a polished lake, interrupted only by islands of plush seating and exotic potted plants. Chandeliers dripped from the ceiling, their crystals catching and scattering light like 1,000 tiny rainbows. Martha's eyes widened, taking in the opulence around her. She'd never seen anything quite like it in all her years. As she approached the front desk, Martha couldn't help but notice the subtle shift in the atmosphere. The smartly dressed guests milling about the lobby paused in their conversations, casting curious glances her way. The click of her sensible shoes on the marble floor seemed to echo unnaturally loud in the sudden hush. "Can I help you?" The receptionist's voice was cool and clipped, her perfectly manicured nails tapping impatiently on the polished desk. Martha smiled warmly, unaware of the judgmental looks being cast her way. "Yes, dear. I'd like to check in, please. I have a reservation under the name Johnson." The receptionist's eyes narrowed as she scanned Martha from head to toe. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but are you sure you're in the right place? This is the Diamond Suites. Our rooms start at $500 a night." Martha's smile faltered slightly, but she pressed on. "Yes, I'm quite sure. My son made the reservation for me. It should be under Martha Johnson." With a barely concealed sigh, the receptionist began tapping at her computer. After a moment, she looked up, her expression a mixture of disbelief and suspicion. "There seems to be some mistake. We do have a reservation under that name, but it's for our presidential suite." "That's clearly not possible." Martha's confusion was evident on her face. "I don't understand. My son, Samuel, he said he'd take care of everything. Maybe you could call him." The receptionist's patience was wearing thin. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. We can't have you disturbing our guests." "But I don't understand," Martha protested, her voice quavering slightly. "There must be some mistake. If you could just call my son Dash." "Security!" The receptionist's sharp call cut through the lobby like a knife. Two burly men in dark suits appeared almost instantly at Martha's side. "Is there a problem here?" one of them asked, his tone leaving no doubt that he considered Martha to be the problem. "This woman is causing a disturbance," the receptionist explained, her voice dripping with disdain. "Please escort her out." Martha's heart raced as she looked from one stern face to another. "Please," she pleaded, "just let me call my son. He can explain everything." But her words fell on deaf ears. With firm hands on her shoulders, the security guards began to steer Martha towards the exit. She stumbled slightly, her old legs trembling with the shock and humiliation of the situation. As they neared the door, a commotion near the elevators caught everyone's attention. A group of businessmen in expensive suits emerged, led by a tall, distinguished-looking black man in his early 50s. His commanding presence drew all eyes in the lobby. "What's going on here?" His deep voice carried across the marble expanse. Martha's eyes lit up with recognition and relief. "Samuel," she called out. "Oh, thank goodness you're here." The man's eyes widened in shock as he took in the scene before him. "Mom!" he exclaimed, striding quickly across the lobby. "What are you doing here? What's happening?" The security guards loosened their grip on Martha's shoulders, suddenly uncertain. The receptionist's face had gone pale, her earlier confidence evaporating like mist in the morning sun. Samuel reached his mother, gently taking her hands in his. "Mom, are you okay? What's going on?" Martha's voice trembled as she explained, "I tried to check in, but they said there was a mistake with the reservation. They were trying to make me leave." Samuel's expression darkened as he turned to face the hotel staff. "Would someone care to explain why my mother is being manhandled out of my hotel?" A pin dropping would have echoed in the stunned silence that followed. The receptionist's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "Why your hotel?" she stammered. Samuel's voice was like steel as he replied, "Yes, my hotel. I'm Samuel Johnson, CEO and owner of Diamond Suites International. And this," he said, putting a protective arm around Martha's shoulders, "is my mother, who should have been treated like royalty from the moment she stepped through those doors." The color drained from the faces of everyone involved in the incident. The security guards took a step back, their earlier bravado replaced by looks of horror. The receptionist looked as though she might faint. Samuel's gaze swept the lobby, taking in the shocked faces of the other guests and staff. "I think," he said, his voice carrying clearly in the hushed room, "that we need to have a serious discussion about the way this establishment treats its guests. All of its guests." He turned to his mother, his voice softening. "Mom, I'm so sorry this happened. Let's get you settled in your suite, and then we'll deal with this situation." As Samuel led Martha towards the elevators, the lobby erupted into a flurry of whispers and meaningful glances. The incident had lasted only a few minutes, but its impact would be felt for a long time to come. In the elevator, Martha leaned against her son, the adrenaline of the confrontation leaving her feeling drained. "I'm sorry, Samuel," she murmured. "I didn't mean to cause any trouble." Samuel hugged his mother close. "You have nothing to apologize for, Mom. You did nothing wrong. It's this hotel that needs to change, and believe me, it will." As the elevator doors closed on the mother and son, the stage was set for a reckoning that would shake the Diamond Suites to its very foundations. The story of Martha Johnson's dignity in the face of discrimination and her son's determination to right a terrible wrong was only just beginning. Samuel took his mother, Dona Marta, to the best room in the hotel. It was a beautiful place, with large windows that showcased the entire city. Yet, Dona Marta still felt saddened by what had happened downstairs. "Mom, are you okay?" Samuel asked, concerned. "Would you like some water or tea?" Dona Marta smiled faintly. "I'm fine, son. Just a bit upset. I never thought something like that could happen here." Samuel held his mother's hand. "What happened was very wrong, Mom. It should never have happened at my hotel. I'm going to fix this." Dona Marta nodded, her eyes brimming with tears she was trying to hold back. "I know you will, son. You've always fought for what's right. Just like your father." Hearing about his father made Samuel even more determined. He stood up and straightened his tie. "I need to go take care of this, Mom. Will you be all right here by yourself for a little while?" "Of course, my dear," Dona Marta said. "Don't worry about me. I think I'll rest for a bit." Samuel kissed his mother's forehead and left the room. Meanwhile, in the hotel lobby, everyone already knew what had happened. Sarah, the receptionist who had been rude to Dona Marta, was sitting in a back office, very nervous. Her colleague, Michael, was there with her. "I can't believe this is happening," Sarah moaned. "How was I supposed to know she was the owner's mother?" Michael shook his head. "That's not the point, Sarah. It doesn't matter who she is. We need to treat everyone with respect." Suddenly, the door opened. Samuel walked into the room, looking very serious. The hotel manager, Robert, followed behind him, pale and nervous. "Miss Thompson," Samuel spoke calmly, but it was clear he was upset. "I'd like you to explain exactly what happened when my mother tried to check in." Sarah swallowed hard. Her voice came out softly, "Mr. Johnson, I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. When I saw your mother, I didn't think." "That's right," Samuel interrupted. You didn't think. You saw an elderly black woman and immediately made assumptions. Tell me, Miss Thompson, is this how you treat all guests who don't fit your idea of what a Diamond Suites client should look like? Sarah began to cry. No, sir. I don't know what came over me. It was very wrong. Samuel turned to the manager. Mr. Clark, I want a full investigation into how we hire and train our staff. What happened today shows that we have a larger problem here. Robert nodded quickly. Of course, Mr. Johnson. We'll start immediately. I can assure you this doesn't reflect our company's values. It doesn't reflect them? Samuel looked around the room. Because from where I'm standing, these values were on full display today. We need to do better. And we will do better. At that moment, Samuel's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression softened slightly. My mother needs me. We'll continue this conversation later. In the meantime, I want every employee in this hotel to go through training on how to treat people with respect. Is that clear? Everyone responded with, yes, sir, as he left the room. Back in the room, Dona Marta was sitting near the window, gazing out at the city. When Samuel entered, she turned with a sad smile. You know, son, what happened today? It's not new. It's something I've dealt with my whole life. Samuel sat beside her and held her hand. I know, Mom. And I'm sorry. I thought things were getting better. Dona Marta patted his hand. They are, in many ways. But there's still a lot of work to be done. What you're doing with this hotel chain, the opportunities you're creating for people like us, it matters. Samuel nodded, a determined look in his eyes. You're right. And after today, I'm more determined than ever to make a difference. Not just here, but in all our hotels. Mother and son sat together, looking out over the city. Samuel began to think of a plan. Despite the pain, what had happened could be the beginning of real change. He would use his position, his influence, to ensure that what had happened to his mother would never happen to anyone else at a Diamond Suites hotel. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Dona Marta squeezed her son's hand. You know, Samuel, your father would be so proud of you. Not just for your success, but for how you're handling this. Samuel felt a lump in his throat. I hope so, Mom. I really hope so. As night fell, the Diamond Suites Hotel was bustling with activity. Everyone already knew what had happened. In the kitchen, in the rooms, in the offices, the employees gathered in small groups, talking about the incident and wondering if they were at risk of losing their jobs. In the hotel bar, guests whispered. Some were shocked at how Dona Marta had been treated, while others defended the hotel. What had happened revealed a deeper problem than anyone had realized. Samuel knew that the next few days would be critical. He had a chance not only to correct a wrong, but to set an example for all hotels. As he sat with his mother, watching the city lights come to life at the end of the day, he made a silent promise. He would turn this bad experience into something good, something that could change things for the better. What Samuel didn't know was that what happened that day would change a lot of things, not just at the Diamond Suites, but in the lives of Dona Marta, Samuel, and many others. As night settled in, the Diamond Suites Hotel shone brightly against the dark sky. But inside, a change was beginning. A change that would challenge old prejudices, give more space to those who had always been sidelined, and show what true hospitality means in today's world. The stage was set for a revolution in the hotel industry, all sparked by a woman's dignity in the face of prejudice and her son's determination to do what was right. The story of Dona Marta and Samuel Johnson was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The next morning, Samuel woke up early. He had a lot of work to do. Before he left his room, he called his mother. "Good morning, Mom. Did you sleep well?" he asked. "Yes, dear," Martha replied. "This bed is so comfortable. How are you doing?" Samuel smiled. "I'm okay, Mom. I'm going to start making some big changes today." Will you be all right by yourself for a while? Of course, Samuel, Martha assured him. Don't you worry about me. I might explore the hotel a bit. Okay, Mom. If anyone gives you any trouble, you call me right away, Samuel said. After saying goodbye, Samuel went down to the hotel's big meeting room. He had called all the managers from all his hotels for an emergency meeting. When he walked in, the room was full of people looking worried and confused. Samuel stood at the front of the room and took a deep breath. Good morning, everyone, he began. I'm sure you've all heard about what happened yesterday. My own mother was treated badly in one of our hotels because of the color of her skin. This is not okay, and things are going to change. The room was very quiet. Some people looked down at their feet, feeling ashamed. Samuel continued, From today, we're going to start new training for everyone who works in our hotels. We're going to learn how to treat all our guests with respect, no matter what they look like or where they come from. A man in the back raised his hand. It was Mr. Thompson, the manager of one of the hotels in another city. But sir, he said, we already have training about this. What more can we do? Samuel looked at him seriously. Clearly, Mr. Thompson, what we've been doing isn't enough. We need to do better. We're going to bring in experts to teach us. And we're going to listen to our guests, especially those who have felt unwelcome in the past. As Samuel talked about his plans, some people in the room started to look excited. But others looked worried. Change can be scary, even when it's for a good reason. Meanwhile, Martha was walking around the hotel. She smiled at everyone she saw, but some people still looked at her strangely. They weren't used to seeing someone like her in such a fancy hotel. In the gift shop, Martha was looking at some pretty scarves when the shopkeeper came up to her. Can I help you? He asked, but his voice wasn't very friendly. Martha smiled at him. No, thank you, dear. I'm just looking. The shopkeeper frowned. These scarves are very expensive, he said. Are you sure you're in the right place? Just then, a young woman who worked in the shop came over. She had heard what the shopkeeper said, and she didn't like it. Sir, she said to the shopkeeper, this lady is Mr. Johnson's mother. She's our special guest. The shopkeeper's face turned red. He started apologizing right away. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Johnson. I didn't know. Please, let me show you our best scarves. But Martha just smiled and shook her head. That's all right, she said. I think I'll come back another time. Then she turned to the young woman. Thank you, dear. What's your name? I'm Lisa, the young woman said. Well, Lisa, Martha said, I think my son could use someone like you to help make this hotel a better place. Back in the meeting room, Samuel was finishing up. This won't be easy, he told everyone. We might lose some guests who don't like our new way of doing things. But we'll gain many more who will feel welcome here for the first time. We have a chance to make a real difference, not just in our hotels, but in the whole world of hospitality. As the managers left the room, some were talking excitedly about the changes. Others looked unsure. Samuel knew he had a long road ahead, but he was ready for the challenge. That evening, Samuel and Martha had dinner in the hotel restaurant. As they ate, Samuel told his mother about the meeting. It sounds like you're doing the right thing, son, Martha said. But it won't be easy. People don't like to change. Samuel nodded. I know, Mom. But we have to try. Oh, and I heard about what happened in the gift shop. I'm sorry about that. Martha patted her son's hand. Don't you worry about that. But there was a young woman there, Lisa. I think you should talk to her. She stood up for what was right. As they finished their meal, a waiter came over with a big slice of chocolate cake. This is from all of us in the kitchen, he said. We're sorry about what happened, Mrs. Johnson. We want you to know you're always welcome here. Martha's eyes filled with happy tears. Thank you, she said. This is very kind. Samuel looked around the restaurant. He saw people from all different backgrounds enjoying their meals. This was what he wanted all his hotels to be like, places where everyone felt welcome. As they ate their cake, Samuel and Martha talked about the future. They knew there would be hard times ahead, but they were hopeful. Sometimes, it takes one brave person standing up for what's right to start making the world a better place. And in this case, it wasn't just one person. It was a mother and son, working together to make a difference. A week had passed since Martha's terrible experience at the Diamond Suites. Samuel had been working hard to make changes, but he didn't know that the story was about to become much bigger. One morning, Samuel was having breakfast with his mother in the hotel restaurant. A young woman approached their table, looking nervous. "Excuse me," she said. "Are you Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Johnson?" Samuel nodded. "Yes, we are. Can we help you?" The woman took a deep breath. "My name is Rachel Green. I'm a reporter for the City News. I heard about what happened here last week, and I'd like to write a story about it. Would you be willing to talk to me?" Samuel looked at his mother. Martha smiled and said, "I think it's a good idea, Samuel. Maybe our story can help others." So, Samuel and Martha agreed to the interview. They told Rachel everything that had happened, the bad treatment Martha received, Samuel's shock and anger, and the changes he was now making in all his hotels. Rachel listened carefully, taking notes. "This is an important story," she said. "Do you mind if I take a picture of you both for the article?" They agreed, and Rachel took a photo of Samuel and Martha sitting together, smiling. The next day, the story was on the front page of the City News. The headline read, "Hotel Owner Fights Discrimination After Mother's Mistreatment." The article told Martha's story and explained how Samuel was working to make his hotels welcoming for everyone. It also talked about the bigger problem of discrimination in hotels and other businesses. Soon, other newspapers and TV stations picked up the story. Samuel's phone started ringing non-stop. Some people wanted to interview him. Others wanted to share their own stories of being treated badly because of how they looked. Not all the attention was good. Some people said Samuel was making a big deal out of nothing. A few regular guests at his hotels said they would never stay there again. But for every negative comment, there were many more positive ones. People from all over the country started calling the Diamond Suites to make reservations. They said they wanted to support a business that cared about treating everyone fairly. Other hotel owners started calling Samuel too. They wanted to know how they could make their own hotels more welcoming. Samuel was happy to share his ideas. One evening, Samuel got a very special phone call. It was from the mayor of the city. "Mr. Johnson," the mayor said, "I read about what happened to your mother and what you're doing to make things right. I'm impressed. Would you be willing to speak at a city council meeting about how businesses can do better at treating all customers fairly?" Samuel was surprised but pleased. "I'd be honored," he said. When he told Martha about the mayor's call, she beamed with pride. "You see, Samuel, sometimes good things can come from bad experiences. You're making a real difference." The next day, Samuel was in his office when there was a knock at the door. It was Lisa, the young woman from the gift shop who had stood up for Martha. "Mr. Johnson," Lisa said, "I hope I'm not bothering you. I just wanted to say that I'm really proud to work here now. The changes you're making, they matter. My little sister wants to work in hotels when she grows up, and now I can tell her that there's a place where she'll be treated fairly, no matter what she looks like." Samuel smiled, touched by Lisa's words. "Thank you, Lisa. That means a lot to me. Actually, I've been meaning to talk to you. How would you feel about helping to lead our new training programs?" Lisa's eyes widened. "Me? Really? I'd love to." As Lisa left the office, excited about her new role, Samuel looked out the window at the busy city below. He thought about how one small act of kindness, like Lisa standing up for his mother, could lead to such big changes. He also thought about all the work still to be done. Changing people's attitudes wasn't easy. Some of his hotel managers were still resisting the new training programs, and he knew that not every guest would be happy with the changes. But when he remembered the smile on his mother's face that morning, or the pride in Lisa's voice, he knew it was all worth it. That night, Samuel and Martha had dinner at a small restaurant near the hotel. As they ate, they could overhear people at nearby tables talking about the newspaper article. "Did you see this story?" one woman said to her friend. "It's about time someone stood up to this kind of treatment." Martha squeezed her son's hand. "Listen to that," she said softly. "You're not just changing your hotels, Samuel. You're changing minds." Samuel nodded, feeling a mix of pride and responsibility. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was ready for the challenge. With his mother's strength and the support of people like Lisa, he felt ready to face whatever came next. As they finished their meal, Samuel raised his glass in a small toast. "To making a difference," he said. Martha clinked her glass against his. "To making a difference," she echoed, her eyes shining with pride and hope for the future. 1 year had passed since that fateful day when Martha Johnson was mistreated at her son's hotel. So much had changed since then, not just for the Johnson family, but for the entire Diamond Suites chain and even the hotel industry as a whole. On a bright Sunday morning, Samuel and Martha stood in front of the very same Diamond Suites hotel where it all began. But today was different. Today was special. "Are you ready, Mom?" Samuel asked, offering his arm to Martha. Martha smiled, her eyes twinkling. "More than ready, my dear boy." They walked through the main doors together. The lobby was packed with people, hotel staff, guests, reporters, and community leaders. As soon as Samuel and Martha entered, the room erupted in applause. Samuel led his mother to a small stage that had been set up in the center of the lobby. He stepped up to the microphone, looking out at the sea of faces. "Good morning, everyone," he began. "Thank you all for being here today. 1 year ago, something happened in this very lobby that changed everything. My mother, Martha Johnson, was treated unfairly because of the color of her skin." The room grew quiet. Samuel continued, "That day could have been just another sad story of discrimination. But instead, it became the start of something wonderful. Today, we're here to celebrate that change." Samuel went on to talk about all the things that had happened over the past year. The Diamond Suites had completely changed how they trained their staff. They had hired people from all different backgrounds to work in every part of the hotel, from the front desk to the highest management positions. But the changes didn't stop there. Other hotel chains had followed Samuel's lead. Some had even asked him to help them make their hotels more welcoming to everyone. "And now," Samuel said, his voice filled with pride, "I'm honored to introduce our new Director of Diversity and Inclusion. Many of you already know her. Please welcome Lisa Chen." The young woman who had stood up for Martha in the gift shop a year ago walked onto the stage, beaming. The crowd cheered loudly. Lisa spoke about the new programs she had helped create. "We're not just teaching people to follow rules," she said. "We're helping them understand why treating everyone with respect is so important." After Lisa finished speaking, Samuel returned to the microphone. "And now," he said, "the real reason we're all here today. Mom, would you join me, please?" Martha stood up and walked to her son's side. Samuel put his arm around her shoulders. "Today," Samuel announced, "we're renaming this hotel. From now on, it will be known as the Martha Johnson Suite, a place where everyone is truly welcome." The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Martha's eyes filled with tears of joy as a large banner was unfurled, revealing the hotel's new name. As the celebration continued, people came up to congratulate Martha and Samuel. One of them was Rachel Green, the reporter who had first shared their story. "Mrs. Johnson," Rachel said, "how does it feel to see all of this happening because of you?" Martha smiled. "Oh, my dear, it wasn't because of me. It was because of everyone who decided to stand up and make a change. I'm just grateful I could be a part of it." Later that evening, Samuel and Martha sat in the hotel restaurant, enjoying a quiet dinner after the excitement of the day. "You know, Mom," Samuel said, "I've been thinking about what's next. There's still so much work to do." Martha reached across the table and patted her son's hand. "And you'll do it, my boy. One step at a time. Just remember, it's not about changing the whole world overnight. It's about making things a little bit better each day." Samuel nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He looked around the restaurant, seeing people from all walks of life enjoying their meals together. This was what he had dreamed of, a place where everyone felt welcome and respected. As they finished their dessert, a young family at a nearby table caught Samuel's eye. A little girl, no more than 6 years old, was excitedly telling her parents about how she wanted to own a hotel someday, just like Mr. Johnson. Samuel and Martha exchanged a glance, both of them smiling. In that moment, they knew that their story had done more than just change a hotel. It had given hope to a new generation. As they left the restaurant, Samuel and Martha paused in the lobby, looking up at the new sign bearing Martha's name. "Well, Mom," Samuel said, "what do you think? Did we make a difference?" Martha squeezed her son's hand. "We sure did, Samuel. We sure did. And the best part is, this is just the beginning." They walked out into the cool evening air, ready to face whatever challenges tomorrow might bring. Because they knew that with love, determination, and the courage to stand up for what's right, anything is possible. The Martha Johnson Suite stood tall against the night sky, a beacon of hope and a symbol of change. And inside its walls, a new chapter in the story of hospitality was just beginning. If this story of courage, change, and family touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button right now to join our community of storytellers and listeners. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on our weekly doses of inspiring tales that'll make you laugh, cry, and think. And hey, if you enjoyed this journey with Martha and Samuel, give this video a big thumbs up. Your likes help more people discover these amazing stories of everyday heroes making a difference. Remember, every subscribe and like is a vote for more diverse, heartwarming stories that remind us of the power we all have to change the world, one small act at a time. So go ahead, hit subscribe and smash that like button. Let's spread some positivity together.